Quick story on the Lost Army of Cambyses. The oldest son of Cyrus the Great, Cambyses II, sent his army to destroy the Oracle of Amun and Sea Oasis, according to the Greek historian Herodotus. Around Luxor, 50,000 soldiers infiltrated the western desert of Egypt. The army was wiped out by a sandstorm somewhere in the middle of the desert. Even though many scientists believe the tale to be a hoax, amateur and professional archaeologists have been looking for the Persian warriors' remains for many years. Professor Caper never accepted this tale as true. Some anticipate discovering a fully armed army. But a sandstorm cannot kill you, as experience has long demonstrated, he remarked. The Lost Army of Cambyses II, according to Professor Caper, was defeated rather than vanished. My research demonstrates that the army was not merely traveling through the desert, the Dakhla Oasis was its ultimate destination. The army of Egyptian rebel leader Cambyses III were stationed here. He eventually caught Cambyses II's army off guard and used this to retake a significant portion of Egypt from his base in the oasis. Following this, he allowed himself to be proclaimed pharaoh in Memphis, the country's capital. The Persian king Darius I, who put a stop to the Egyptian uprising with great violence 2 years after Cambyses II's defeat, is most likely to blame for the extended period of uncertainty surrounding the fate of Cambyses II's army. Darius I blamed natural forces to his predecessor's disgraceful defeat. Herodotus was only able to take note of the sandstorm account 75 years after the event because of this clever manipulation. Professor Caper has been working on excavations in Amhida, in the Dakhla Oasis, for the past 10 years. He decoded the complete list of Cambyses III's titles from blocks from an old temple earlier this year. The puzzle pieces started to fit at that point, according to Professor Caper. The temple bricks suggest that during the beginning of the Persian era, this must have been a stronghold. We were able to piece together what transpired once we put this together with the scant knowledge we knew on Cambyses III, the dig site, and the account of Herodotus. That the Persians set forth from Oasis across the sand, and had reached about halfway between that place and themselves when, as they were at their midday meal, a wind arose from the south, strong and deadly, bringing with it vast columns of whirling sand, which entirely covered up the troops and caused them wholly to disappear. Thus, according to the Ammonians, did it fare with this army. What might have happened? Let's look at some theories. It should be noted that Herodotus frequently paints Cambyses as a man with mental instability, making his intentions in the accounts questionable at times. Not only that, but it's entirely plausible that the Egyptians gave Herodotus erroneous information about Cambyses and made up tales. Some of what Herodotus wrote about Cambyses is very definitely erroneous. Historians admit, for example, that he killed the sacred apis bull. Remember that the Hyksos, who occupied Egypt circa 1550 BC, were demonized by the Egyptians, despite the fact that there is currently very little proof that they actually carried out many of the things that the ancient Egyptians said they did. Some believe that the army was ambushed and routed by outlaws, and that Darius, who succeeded Cambyses, effectively suppressed the account of the disaster and substituted the story of a storm. The troops is said to have become disoriented in the desert because they were using a map that was inaccurate and incorrectly located Ammon. It is not hard to conceive a scenario in which there wasn't a 50,000-man army, they didn't all perish in a storm, they got lost, or they gave up on the expedition, and the Persians, or the Egyptians, changed the narrative. Many people also doubt if a storm will ever be strong enough to bury an entire army. The Great Sand Sea in western Egypt, south of Siwa, is a very barren area with unexpected storms. But we are unsure if a sandstorm could possess such an incredible capability.